السلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters, this lecture today is going to be about what is Al-Madhab al-Maliki, the Maliki school, and how did it improve, and how did it spread, and all things that have to do with these important information that any student that is studying the Maliki Madhab would like to understand and know. It's like an introduction to the Maliki school. So when we speak about the Maliki Madhab, Madhab is a word that comes from ذهب يذهب, that means he went. So when you go somewhere, that means ذهبت مذهبا. And the same thing when you say, when you follow a school, that means you went towards the school's doctrine, the school's steps, and whatever like that. So therefore, when we say a madhab, that means it's a school that has special things, opinions, special thinking and stuff like that. So when we're speaking about the Maliki school, we're speaking about the school that is referred to Imam Malik ibn Anas ibn Malik ibn Abi Amir al-Asbahi rahimahullah al-Madini. So he is from a tribe called Dhu Asbah, which is originally a Yemeni tribe, but his grandfathers migrated from Yemen to Medina. So they are from Medina, actually. That's why they say Al-Madini. His ancestors were from Medina, which means the city of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's Medina to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the city of our beloved Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So therefore, actually, a Maliki school is not the school of Imam Malik. It's the school of the scholars of Medina. It's the school of the scholars of Medina. That's why they used to call it in the ancient days Madhab Ahl al-Madina. And when we say Madhab Ahl al-Madina, that means it's the school of the scholars, the way of thinking that was in Medina. And we have lots of scholars that are from Medina, and they are similar to each other. They have the same way of thinking, and they have the same opinions in several things. But does that mean that this madhab has only one opinion in every chapter of it or every aspects of it? No, of course. We can find a lots of opinions inside Medina and outside Medina from the scholars that followed the scholars of Medina. The story begins from the days of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he used to spread knowledge to his companions. And his companions learned from him lots of things that were based on the holy book and the sunnah, which means the tradition or the way of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And all of these companions were in Medina, and after that, when Mecca got conquered, they were in Mecca and all the Arabian Peninsula. So the Prophet ﷺ didn't pass away until he conquered all of the Arabian Peninsula. And lots of people came from their lands and submitted to the Prophet ﷺ. Cities and villages and tribes of Arabia. So the ones that met our beloved Prophet ﷺ were all considered as Sahaba, companions of the Prophet ﷺ. But there were a few Sahaba that went deep in jurisprudence, which is the fiqh, and there were others that just imitated their ancestors. Why? Because, there are people who are busy in their job. Some of them are busy in fighting in battles, like Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu. He's not known to be as a scholar, but he's known to be as a perfect or a super general of war and battles. And that's why he used to pray with people and lead them in prayer with short chapters of the Holy Quran, short surahs. So when they complained about that, and Umar radiallahu anhu asked him about that, he said, "Oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, I was busy in the battle, so I didn't have time to memorize the Holy Quran." So actually, you don't find Khalid bin Walid as a Sahabi that has opinions in jurisprudence, nor in tafsir al-Quran, commentary of the Quran, nor in other aspects. But you find Khalid bin Walid as a general of wars and battles, that he conquered lots of lands and he won in all of his battles. He never failed in any battle. He never lost any battle. So therefore, who are the main scholars of the Sahaba, the Mujtahidun? Ibn Hazm rahimahullah in his Ihkam fi Usul al-Ahkam mentioned lots of Sahaba that were the leaders of Sahaba that spread knowledge. You can find amongst them the four righteous caliphs like Abu Bakr and Uthman, Abu Bakr and Umar, and Uthman and Ali radiallahu anhum. And you can find others like the 10 promised Sahaba to enter paradise, and like Aisha radiallahu anha, the Prophet's wife, and his other wife, Salama radiallahu ta'ala anha. These are two wives that were very knowledgeable. Maybe Aisha is the most knowledgeable woman in Islam. And there were younger Sahaba like Abdullah ibn Umar ibn Khattab, like Abdullah ibn Abbas, like Jabir ibn Abdullah, and like Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As, and others. Lots of Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And you have old Sahaba that converted Islam or embraced Islam in the beginning of Islam, like Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and others. All of these Sahaba used to spread knowledge after the Prophet ﷺ passed away. But all of them remained in Medina until in the days of Abu Bakr and Umar. Umar didn't let any of the Sahaba go out of Medina, because he used to take their opinions, he used to take consultation from them, and he had something like a consultation. It's like a parliament or something like that. They used to take their opinions and stuff like that. But when Umar radiallahu anhu passed away, Uthman radiallahu anhu had his own way of, his own strategy and own policy in ruling the Islamic State, which spread until Morocco, and spread it from the west, and until Afghanistan, from the east until Azerbaijan, and north until Nuba or Sudan nowadays in the south. It was a big state. It contained a lot of people, a lot of nations, a lot of new people that converted Islam from all types of nations, like Arabs, Persians, Romans, and Egyptians, Copts, and Africans, and Berber, and stuff like that. All these nations are lots of nations. So they had to have scholars, Sahaba, and stuff like that to teach them. A lot of Sahaba spread. They went fighting and spreading the word of God in the world. So this guy died here, this guy died here, this guy died. Everyone died in a place. And when he was there, he used to teach people. And we had some main Sahaba that worked on that. So Medina had its own people and others that spread in the world. So we had in Medina Umar, Abu Bakr and Umar, and Uthman. And we had there Aisha radiallahu tabaraka wa ta'ala anha. And we had there Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Umar ibn Khattab. And we had there Jabir ibn Abdullah. So we had there lots of Sahaba radiallahu anhu. In Iraq, especially in Kufa, which was a special city, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud started there his job in the days of Umar. Umar sent him to teach people there. And then later on, Ali radiallahu anhu made it his capital when he went to Iraq. But a lot of Sahaba settled even in Basra, which is a city more close to the Arabian Peninsula. And nowadays it's so close to Kuwait. It was a big city that a lot of Sahaba settled in, like Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's servant. So he settled there. And he had a lot of students, like Ibn Mas'ud had a lot of students as well. And Ali had a lot of students. But all of the students of Ibn Mas'ud became the students of Ali radiallahu anhu. Abu Darda radiallahu anhu remained in Sham, Damascus. And before him, or in the same time, Muawiyah settled there for a long time. But Muawiyah was a ruler where Abu Darda used to teach people, and even Mu'adh ibn Jabal, which is considered one of the most knowledgeable Sahaba, he passed away in the plague of Amawas, which killed a lot of people, and he was dead there. And Amawas is a city now in Palestine. So Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As settled in Egypt. He used to go sometimes in Egypt and sometimes in Taif, of a city close to Mecca right now, about 80 kilometers from Mecca. It's a well-known city in Arabia. So therefore, Abdullah ibn Abbas settled in Mecca, and he had a lot of students there, and he had a school there. So every one of these Sahaba later on had students from the Tabi'un, which are the followers of the Sahaba. And Abu Hanifa radiallahu anhu, rahimahullah, inherited the school of Kufa, where Imam Shafi'i inherited the school of Mecca, and Al-Awza'i inherited the school of Sham, and Al-Layth ibn Sa'd inherited the school of Egypt, and Al-Imam Malik rahimahullah inherited the school of Medina. But the school of Medina got merged with the school of Mecca because Shafi'i rahimahullah came to Medina and he settled there a few times and narrated Al-Muwatta. He narrated Al-Muwatta from Imam Malik, and he learned from him. And he became one of his students. And the school of Sham, Syria, and the school of Egypt merged with the school of Medina because they were similar to it and close to it. So we lost the school of Al-Awza'i, although it spread in Morocco and in Andalusia in some time. And we lost the school of Layth ibn Sa'd because Imam Shafi'i said that Layth was more knowledgeable than Malik, but his students lost them. So his students didn't take care of him. And some of his students, or many of them, were his students and Imam Malik's students. So therefore, Imam Shafi'i later on made his own school because he went to Iraq and he took knowledge from the students of Abu Hanifa, and then he went to Egypt and he settled there and he created his own way, which is called Madrasatu Ahl Hadith. It's not referred to any city. And he used to say, إذا صح الحديث فهو مذهبي. If the hadith is authentic, that's my opinion. So he follows hadith without paying attention to any city. Where an Imam Abu Hanifa focuses on the scholars of Kufa. So it's called Madhab Ahl al-Kufa or Madhab al-Iraqiyin. Madhab Ahl al-Iraq. And the school of Basra merged with it, so it became one school. And later on they called it Madrasatul Ra'i. And the school of Hijaz took all the schools of Mecca and Medina and stuff like that, became the Madrasatul Hijaz. Madrasatul Hijaz, the school of Hijaz, focused on the scholars of Hijaz. Because later on, we had famous scholars in Hijaz, especially in Medina, which are Atba' al-Tabi'een, like whom? Ubaydullah ibn Abdullah ibn Utbah ibn Mas'ud, like Muhammad Muslim ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, like Ali ibn Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, like Abdullah ibn Hassan ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, like Salim ibn Abdullah ibn Umar ibn Khattab, like Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr as-Siddiq, like Urwa ibn Zubayr ibn Awwam, like Abu Bakr ibn Harith ibn Amr ibn Hisham. No, Abu Bakr ibn Abdurrahman ibn Harith ibn Hisham. Abu Bakr ibn Abdurrahman ibn Harith ibn Hisham. And like others, lots of scholars. And like Rabi'a ibn Abi Abdurrahman, that was called Rabi'atul Ra'i. And others, which are the professors of Imam Malik, rahimahullah. And in Mecca, we had Ata ibn Abi Rabah, we had Tawus al-Yamani, we had Mujahid ibn Jabr, we had Sa'id ibn Jubayr, and others who were students of Imam ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. And later on we had Abdul Malik ibn Jurayj and Muslim ibn Khalid al-Zinji, which was the professor of Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah. And as I told you, Imam Shafi'i later on became one of the students of Imam Malik. And Imam Shafi'i, when he went to Iraq, he spread his doctrine, which is when the hadith is authentic, we follow the hadith. We don't give our opinions or nothing else. And that was against the school of Kufa, which is the school of called Madrasatul Ra'i of Abu Hanifa and his friends. And therefore there was a clash there between these two schools. And Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah had famous students there and to tell you that the main students there that welcomed him to Iraq were the students of Imam Malik, so they considered him one of them. So we have here two schools that were in the beginning. The school of Hijaz that focuses on hadith more than anything else, and the school of Iraq that focuses on opinions and logic. There is a clash there between these two schools because these schools find that these guys don't pay attention a lot to the Sunnah, where the others say, well, these guys don't pay attention a lot to logic. It is said that Imam Shafi'i, when he went to Iraq by the welcome of Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi, one of the great students of Imam Malik there, and one of the great scholars of hadith, he wrote his book that is called Al-Risala, the first book published that was written in علم أصول الفقه. علم أصول الفقه. So when he wrote this book, it is said that Imam Shafi'i says about himself, لقبت بناصر السنة أو ناصر الحديث عندما ذهبت إلى العراق. When he went to Iraq and he wrote this book, he was called ناصر الحديث, the supporter of the hadith. And one of his great students in Iraq were three main students, Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Al-Hasan al-Za'farani and Abu Thawr. These are, and there's the fourth one is Al-Husayn al-Karabisi. These are the main students of Imam Shafi'i that were in Iraq, and they spread his doctrine. Later on, Ahmad ibn Hanbal became a famous scholar that people followed him, and it was separated from the Shafi'i school, although they are one school actually. Later, Imam Shafi'i went to Egypt, and he started writing his books there, which made him separate from the Maliki doctrine. And that was in several things, because the Maliki doctrine focuses on the actions of the scholars of Medina, because he says that the scholars of Medina inherited the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So when the scholars of Medina have a wide known opinion, he says that that's more stronger than one to one that narrate a hadith. So this is more stronger. He says al-amal, which is actions, are more stronger than only sayings. So he focuses on them. Shafi'i says no, the sayings are as they are authentic, that's it. We don't pay attention to the actions of a city, no matter what this city is, because in the days of Imam Malik, things changed. And we had a lot of Sahaba that went out of Medina and spread in the world. So you see, it's several point of views. Anyway, Imam Malik rahimahullah inherited the school of Medina. And he wrote his famous book, which is called Al-Muwatta, the first book that reached to us of hadith and fiqh. Because Al-Muwatta contains 600 hadith that are referred to the Prophet ﷺ. And it contains 2,000 narrations in general. These narrations, 600 are referred to the Prophet ﷺ, and the others are referred to companions and Sahaba and Tabi'een and Atba' Tabi'een, and it contains opinions of Imam Malik himself. Al-Muwatta was narrated by lots of scholars. We have Muwatta Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi, the Moroccan Andalusian scholar. He was from a Berber tribe called Masmudal. And he's the last one to narrate Al-Muwatta from Imam Malik. And that's why when you say Muwatta, it's that book. And I'm going to tell you the ones that are published right now. We have Muwatta Abi Mus'ab al-Zuhri, which was the judge of Medina after Imam Malik passed away. He's from the descendants of Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu. Abu Mus'ab al-Zuhri. We have Muwatta al-Qanabi, who was from Iraq. And he came and he studied with Imam Malik. He was one of the great scholars. Muhammad ibn Muslim ibn Qanab, al-Qanabi. We have Muwatta Yahya ibn Bukayr. We have Muwatta Shafi'i. They compiled it right now in one volume. We have Muwatta Ali ibn Ziyad al-Tunusi. We have Muwatta Abdurrahman ibn Qasim al-Utaqi. We have lots of Muwatta, several narrations. And we have Muwatta Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, the student of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. So we have lots of what is Muwatta? Muwatta tried to compile the knowledge of Medina, the main ideas and opinions in all aspects, all several aspects. Shukr. Shukr. So therefore, Medina was the capital of Hijaz. So anyone comes to Hajj, he has to visit Medina. There's a hadith that Imam Tirmidhi narrates that there's a day going to come that people would go and ride their camels. They won't find a scholar more knowledgeable than the scholar of Medina. Sufyan ibn Uyayna, the scholar of Mecca, says that is Imam Malik. And lots of people said that that's Imam Malik, rahimahullah, because when we see the history, we don't find a scholar that everybody came from all countries to visit and take knowledge from, except Imam Malik, rahimahullah. And this is what Al-Qadi Iyad, rahimahullah, tried to prove in his introduction to Tartib al-Madarik, which is a biography of Imam Malik and his students. So that's true. Lots of people, when they came, they started visiting Imam Malik and taking knowledge from him. So we started having new schools of Maliki school. We had the main school, which is the school of Medina, and it had great students of Imam Malik, and it focuses on hadith a lot. We have there Abu Mus'ab al-Zuhri. We have Ismail ibn Abi Uwais, who was the son of Imam Malik's sister, and he was his son-in-law as well. He married his daughter. We have Abdul Malik ibn al-Majishun. We have Ma'an ibn Isa al-Qazzaz. We have lots of scholars of Medina. And we have the second main school of the Maliki school is Egypt, because the great students of Imam Malik were in Egypt. Amongst them is Abdurrahman ibn al-Qasim al-Utaqi, which was always with Imam Malik, and he is the one that spread his knowledge, as I'm going to mention right now. And we have Ashhab ibn Abdul Aziz, and we have Abdullah ibn Wahb, which was a great scholar in Egypt, and he took from Malik and from Al-Layth ibn Sa'd. We have Abdullah ibn Abdul Hakam, and we have lots of others that were in Egypt. And that is the Egyptian school, which is one of the great Maliki schools until today. Until today, the Egyptian Maliki school was famous. We have the school of Iraq. The Iraqi school is a very special school where we have Al-Qadi Ismail ibn Ishaq, which he was a great judge, and the family of him, his family inherited judge posts centuries by centuries. They were in Basra and in Baghdad. And we have Abu Bakr al-Abhari, we have Ibn al-Qassar, we have Al-Qa'nabi, we have lots of scholars there. And the Maliki school in Iraq was very strong until it started weakening later on. I think nowadays it doesn't exist anymore, because it's a strong school because they focused a lot on logic and stuff like that. And they supported the madhab by dialogues and debates with others. They had lots of schools there, so they needed to debate with them. And we have very interesting books written by the Iraqi school, like Al-Ishraf of Al-Ma'un, and Ishraf and Al-Talqeen of Al-Qadi Abdul Wahab, like the books of Ibn al-Qassar, like the books of Ibn al-Jallab, like others. All of them are very interesting books. And many of them are published. And we have the school of Al-Qayrawan, where they were the most strongest schools of Imam Malik's students. They were very pious and tough and very serious in standing firm on Sunnah, because they faced lots of enemies of Sunnah, like the Mu'tazilites, which were the doctrine of the Abbasid Empire in some times, after Ma'mun decided to become a Mu'tazili member and forced all scholars to follow Mu'tazilite. So Suhnun and his friends and others stood firm against that. And then the Ubaydiyun, which they call them the Fatimids, Fatimid dynasty, who were Shia, fanatic Shia, took place in North Africa, all North Africa. They forced people to follow their doctrines. The Malikis stood firm there and fought against them. And they even rebelled against them. And they influenced the ruler of North Africa, Al-Mu'izz ibn Ziri, to split from the Fatimi dynasty. And that's what happened later on, especially when they changed their capital from Tunisia to Egypt. All North Africa, Morocco, Tunisia and Morocco all split from the Ubaydiyun. And they decided to go back to the Maliki doctrine. So the Qayrawani school was a very interesting school and very beneficial. We had there Suhnun and his students. And before that, we had Asad ibn al-Furat, who took his lectures from Imam Malik and from the students of Abu Hanifa. And he was the original one to write his book that was called Asadiyya. And he's the one who conquered Sicily. He was a general in the battles, and he passed there. And he wrote his Asadiyya, which was actually answers from the Iraqi school and comparing it with the answers of the Madini school. Later on, Suhnun worked on it by asking Ibn al-Qasim about all those questions again, and he compiled his book, which is called Al-Mudawwana, which is the second book in the Maliki school. So Al-Mudawwana is the main book after Al-Muwatta, which contains all the opinions of Imam Malik in all branches of jurisprudence, from the beginning to the end. There were other things called as-sama'at, which every student hears. Sama' means hears. And they start writing those sama'ats, like Sama'at ibn al-Mawaz, like Majmu'at ibn Abdus, like Sama'at, like al-Utbiyya, that compiled a lot of Sama'at ibn al-Qasim and others. And there's a book called Al-Wadiha, compiled by Abdul Malik ibn Habib, the Andalusian Cordobi scholar, who went to Medina after Imam Malik passed, and he took from his students, the Medina students like Abdul Malik ibn al-Majishun and others, and he wrote his book Al-Wadiha fi Sunan. Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani, who inherited the Qayrawani school, and he came after. He's considered the barrier between the old Malikis and the new Malikis. Although he's in the 4th Islamic century. So he wrote his very interesting work, which is called النوادر والزيادات على ما في المدونة من الروايات. So he compiled all those other narrations that are out of the Mudawwana in 15 or 16 volumes. So if you have Al-Muwatta, Al-Mudawwana, and Nawadir al-Ziyadat, you can have the main narrations of the Madhab. Then we have the Andalusian school, which had Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi, who was the last one to hear Al-Muwatta from Imam Malik. Of course, the Qayrawani school has Ali ibn Ziyad al-Tunsi, who heard Muwatta from Imam Malik, and we have there Ibn Ghanim, and we have Bahlul ibn Rashid. All these were students of Imam Malik, direct students, or else, and we have Asad ibn Furat. These are direct students. They took from Imam Malik. But Suhnun took from the students of Imam Malik because he didn't manage to meet Imam Malik. He didn't have money. And he went late to Egypt and Hijaz after the Imam Malik passed. So he took from his students, Ibn al-Qasim, Ibn Wahb, Asbagh ibn al-Faraj, and others. And he took from Asad ibn al-Furat as well. And Ali ibn Ziyad al-Tunsi as well. Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi later on became a great scholar of Andalusia, Cordoba. So and the ruler of Andalusia later on decided that there is no other madhab in Andalusia except from the Maliki school. So most of the students of Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi were judges and took place in Andalusia. And that's how the Maliki doctrine spread there, like it spread in North Africa by Al-Mu'izz ibn Ziri, who stopped all other schools except the Maliki school. And then later on, when the dynasty of Al-Murabitun took place, they were very Maliki, if I can say, very Maliki. The Murabitun are originally from the Grand Sahara, which is called now Shangit and other lands. All these lands are called the Grand Sahara, like Azawad, Shangit, and all these places. Those are where the Murabitun are from. They took place there. So the Maliki school spread there, spread strongly. And it became two schools, if I can say. The school that takes care a lot of hadith, like Abdul Malik ibn Habib, and after that comes Al-Hafiz ibn Abdul Barr, rahimahullah. Al-Hafiz, genius, 2 books, Al-Tamheed wal-Istidhkar, which are commentaries on Al-Muwatta, and like the school of Ibn Wahb in Egypt and others. And we have the school of opinion, which is referred to Ibn al-Qasim rahimahullah. And this second school later on succeeded to become the main school than the hadith school. So it started spreading until it became the mashhur school, until some people say that mashhur al-madhab is the opinion of Ibn al-Qasim. But actually that's not true. Mashhur al-madhab is not Ibn al-Qasim's madhab. Mashhur al-madhab actually is the opinion that most of the Malikis choose. Because we have lots of opinions, these scholars didn't use to imitate anybody and search. They got convinced origins, the main opinions, the roots of the madhab are right. But that doesn't mean all the opinions they agree with, so therefore they had several opinions. And that those opinions differ from a scholar to another. This school continued to, these two schools. So we had one of the great scholars, Abu al-Hasan al-Lakhmi, who had a very interesting work on al-Mudawwana called al-Tabsira. And he used to have his own opinions. He didn't used to imitate anybody. And we have the works of Imam Al-Qadi Abu Bakr al-Arabi al-Mu'afiri, the judge of Sevilla. And we have lots of other works. But as all the madhahib, after centuries, people start to become lazy having other opinions. So therefore, they just imitate. And as long as time comes far from the original days of the madhab, people imitate more and more. There's a lot to say about the madhab. The capital of the madhab is Medina. And then after after few years of Imam Malik's Imam Malik passed, after he passed by a few years, the Ubaidis and stuff like that took place in Hijaz, so they destroyed the works of Sunnah in Medina, and Medina got the Maliki doctrine became so weak in his city. But the Maliki school was strong in Egypt and in North Africa and in Andalusia. So the second capital, if I can say, is Al-Qayrawan, and then Cordoba, and Cairo. And then when Andalusia lost Cordoba got lost, and the Crusades took place there, the capital became Fez in Morocco. So everybody wants to have more knowledge. He goes to Morocco or Qayrawan. But Qayrawan got destroyed after the 5th century by the Bedouins that came from Arabia, because the Ubaidi dynasty, when they got kicked out of North Africa, they decided to revenge against Sunnis there. So they sent them the Arabs, the Bedouins, not the Arabs, the Bedouins, who came, thousands of them, and destroyed North Africa. So later on, the capital of knowledge became Fez and Morocco, especially in the days of the Mariniyin, the Marini dynasty in Morocco, which had a lot of great scholars like Imam al-Qabbab, and we had in those days, in the last days of Andalusia, Imam Shatibi, Imam Faraj ibn Lub, and Imam and others, lots of scholars there in Andalusia. Imam al-Mawaq, which is the last scholar of Al-Andalus, and he passed in the same year where Muslims lost Granada under the authority of the Spanish Christians. So Fez became the capital of knowledge until it got lost when all North Africa got invaded by France. And then, so sorry to say, that Islamic rules were stopped, and our countries started deriving or taking their laws from the European laws that don't have anything to do with Islam. So not only the Maliki jurisprudence became weak, all Islamic jurisprudence became so weak in North Africa. But we can say nowadays the capital of the Maliki school is Shangit, where we still have lots of schools there, which are called the Mahadir. And we have great scholars like Sheikh before, we have Muhammad Salim bin Addoud, rahimahullah, he passed. He's the uncle of Sheikh Muhammad Hassan al-Dadaw, hafidhahullah. And we have Sheikh Abba, and we have Sheikh Muhammad Hassan al-Khadim, and we have lots of scholars that still have great work. And we have new generations and new scholars nowadays that are starting to write books and showing the commentary by deriving deriving that from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, the evidence of the Prophet ﷺ, like the work that Sheikh Sadiq al-Gharyani of Tripoli, the Mufti of Libya, wrote, and he has very interesting books. And we have some scholars in Tunisia nowadays that wrote very good books, like Habib bin Tahir, that wrote his book Al-Fiqh al-Maliki wa Adillatuhu, which is a very interesting book. And there are other works in Egypt and other places. Even in Morocco, we had some good work by some scholars like Sheikh Muhammad ibn Qasim al-Tawil, scholar of Fez that passed a few years ago, and he left lots of good work. And we have other scholars until now, but they're not so famous, so sorry to say that. And they don't write a lot, but they keep on teaching out anyway. So this is the story of the Maliki school. I would have liked to hear your questions and listen to it, but I don't see any questions here. This is enough for this lecture. Some brothers asked, are we forced to follow the mashhur or follow the rajih? No, we're not supposed to follow mashhur nor rajih. We have to study. In the beginning, you follow mashhur because that's what you study. But later on, when you are capable, you follow what is rajih. Rajih is what the evidence is stronger. Mashhur, it's the majority of scholars, the Maliki scholars, choose. Actually, this was only a summary, or else to speak about the Maliki school, we could have made several lectures about that because there's a lot to say. I didn't speak about the work of the Imam Abu al-Walid ibn Rushd rahimahullah, which is a very fantastic work, and he's one of the pillars of the Madhab. I didn't speak about the last book that all Malikis now focus on, which is the book of Khalil, which has lots of commentaries on it. I didn't speak about the other small books that scholars worked on and they study until now, because those are like books that you study, not the books that you derive the whole madhab from. I'm seeing now some questions here. Ya Shaykh, where did the Maliki school become so connected to the Ash'ari creed rather than Athari, the Hanbali Athari creed? No, not the Hanbali actually. The Malikis are not Hanbali. This question is a very important question, because when we go back and we see the opinions of Imam Malik in his creed, we find that Imam Malik is not different from other scholars. When you go back to Sharh Usul I'tiqad Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah by Imam al-Lalikai, Abu al-Qasim al-Lalikai al-Tabari rahimahullah. He's originally from Tabaristan, which is in Iran now. He's a Shafi'i scholar, and he compiled this great book. It's a very great book. It's one of the biggest books that narrate by chains all the opinions of Sunni scholars in the world, in his days, I mean. So when we see what are the Maliki opinions, and when we see the ancient Malikis, like the opinions of Ibn Abd al-Barr, the opinions of Makki ibn Abi Talib al-Qaysi, the opinions of Abu Amr al-Dani rahimahullah, the opinions of Ibn al-Faradi, the opinions of the scholars that were in the opinions of Imam Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani, Suhnun ibn Sa'id, and others, and Ibn al-Majishun, Ibn Wahb, and Ibn al-Qasim, and all these students, direct students of Imam Malik, we find that they don't differ any way from the other opinions of the scholars of the Muslim scholars that are in the three first centuries, yes. And when Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal started giving his opinions when he was tried in the days of Al-Ma'mun, the Abbasi Caliph, the same thing happened in North Africa with Suhnun, who passed in the same year, not the same year, between Imam Ahmad only 1 year. And he was tried the same thing. He was going to be punished. He was punished and he was going to be imprisoned. And that was a big examination for him. And he stood firm and he said the same opinions of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah. And that's why one of the scholars says that the madhab is for Shafi'i and Malik, but the one who was famous is Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Why? Because he is the one that had to speak with loud voice because there was an examination there, but he didn't give anything from his pocket. He said what his scholars say. Ahmad used to tell them, give me only a hadith or an athar to say. I want to speak. I can't speak from my own opinions. And that's why when the Imam Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani wrote his creed, his book of Risala, he wrote his creed. It was an Athari creed, actually. And he wrote the same thing, more detailed, in his summary of Al-Mudawwana, which is published in 4 volumes, called في اختصار المدونة والمختلطة. في اختصار المدونة والمختلطة. It's in 4 volumes. And he had a chapter called Al-Jami', which he mentioned his Aqidah there. And the same thing in the dynasty of the Murabitun, which they were Athari until the Muwahhidun took place, and they started fighting against them in this and saying that these are people mujassima. That means the word actually that means when you claim that God is an image or whatever. So they claim that these guys say that God is an image, and they fought against them as if they are not Muslims. And they forced people to become Ash'ari. And they forced people to become Ash'ari by killing anybody who doesn't want to be like that. So therefore, later on, all the Malikis became Ash'ari, except some few exceptions here and there. That was after the 4th century. So actually, this is the story in few words. And there's a book written by one of our scholars, especially the Katani scholars. He's the cousin of my grandfather. He was a very knowledgeable scholar called Sheikh Ibrahim ibn Ahmad ibn Ja'far. Muhammad ibn Ja'far is his uncle. He wrote a book called Salafiyyatul Imam Malik. That means the Salafi school, the Salafiyyatul Imam Malik, rahimahullah. So it's published. You can find it, Salafiyyatul Imam Malik. And he mentioned all of his opinions there, opinions of Imam Malik. You would find that there is no difference between what Imam Malik says and what Ahmad says and what Sufyan says and what other scholars say. And to tell you, to be honest with you, you can go back even to Kitab Usul al-Sunnah lil-Imam ibn Abi Zamanin al-Ilbiri, the Andalusian scholar. It's published. You can find his creed. It's so clear as it's an Athari creed. Yes, I can see some questions, other questions here. Okay, so there's from Abdullah Tariq, what are the basic mutun of fiqh of Imam Malik for a beginner student? Yeah, you have a Mukhtasar al-Akhdari. It's the first method to start with, and I I gave a commentary on it, and it's published, and it's going to be, inshallah, and it translated to English as well. But I did it in English. You can find it in English on my YouTube channel, and you can find it in Arabic as well on my YouTube channel. And you have Al-Ashmawiyya, I have a commentary on it. You have, we can make it in English as well. I have it in Arabic, but we can make it in English, inshallah. You have lots of small mutun. You have Al-Izziyya, you have Risat ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani, which is a secondary matan. And you have Ma'ashir, I have it in English and in Arabic in Ibn Abd al-Barr Academy. You can study that, inshallah. Okay, when I said Hanbali creed or thought it was the same as the term Athari or Salafi creed in Aqidah. Barakallahu feek for answering. Yeah, well, no problem, no problem. There was a Moroccan king from the Alawi dynasty, which is the same dynasty we live in now. His name is Sultan Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Alawi, and he used to sign his name Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Hanbali Aqidatan al-Maliki Madhaban. So he used to follow the Athari creed. So that's why he used to call himself al-Hanbali Aqidatan. Yes. Okay, the brothers from Sulaiman Kinani, it seems sometimes when there's no proof found for a position in the school, the default is to say Amal Ahl Medina, even though there is no nas on this specifically. Is this accurate to say? No, that's not true. No. When they say Amal Ahl Medina, that means there is Amal Ahl Medina according to the scholars. But you have to prove that there is Amal Ahl Medina. If there's no Amal Ahl Medina, you prove that there's no Amal Ahl Medina, or Ahl Medina have several opinions. And that's what other scholars do. They say, God, guys, you say that this is Amal Ahl Medina, we prove that this is not Amal Ahl Medina. We have other opinions there. It's not only Medina opinions. Like when they said that Qabd or Sadl, they say Sadl is Amal Ahl Medina. That's not true. We have Mashhur al-Madhab, lots of scholars that said Qabd Mashhur al-Madhab, and others says Sadl. And we have Amal Ahl Medina. The majority of scholars of Medina used to say Qabd, not Sadl. So that's not Amal Ahl Medina. That's true. Ismail Biu Barak Bronk, is it correct that Imam Malik and Imam Hanbali meet and had talks? No, that's not true, because Imam Malik passed in the year. No, Imam Malik never met Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal never met Imam Malik, but Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i met Imam Malik. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal is the student of Imam Malik's students, so he never met Imam Malik, but he took from his students. From Yusuf Ali, is there anywhere that we can read about the famous debate between Ibn Hazm al-Athari and al-Baji al-Maliki, rahimahullah? Well, to say that Imam Ibn Hazm Athari and Imam al-Baji is Maliki, that's not true like that. Imam Abu al-Walid al-Baji was an Athari scholar. And he was, Athari in his fiqh. He was considered like Imam Ibn Abd al-Barr and others in his fantastic work on Al-Muwatta that is called Al-Muntaqa is very, very, very interesting. But Ibn Hazm was Zahiri, not Athari. Zahiri. He has his own way in thinking. The debate actually is published by Dr. Abdul Majid Najjar. Abdul Majid Najjar, I think, is a Tunisian scholar. And he compiled it in a book, Al-Munadhara Bayn al-Walid al-Baji ibn Hazm. You can find that. It's published in Arabic in Dar al-Gharb al-Islami. Dar al-Gharb al-Islami. From Tayfur Wahid, how the Andalusi riwayah were taken and established, so we can understand. Yes, the Andalusians used to. Lots of them went to Medina and met Imam Malik, rahimahullah. There was a scholar called Abdurrahman ibn Ziyad Shabatun who met Imam Malik and narrated al-Muwatta from him. and came and spread it in Andalusia. But Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi heard it from him, and then he decided to go to Medina and hear it from Imam Malik. He was about 25 years old when he met Imam Malik, and he's the last one to hear Muwatta from Imam Malik rahimahullah. And there are other scholars that went to Medina. Some of them met Imam Malik, some of them went after Imam Malik, like Abdul Malik ibn Habib, and like Musa ibn Muawiyah al-Samadahi, and like others that met students of Imam Malik, like Isa ibn Aban, who met Imam Abdul Rahman al-Qasim, and others. So there's, and we have a great scholar that went to Iraq and took a lot of knowledge and came back with it to Andalusia, which is Baqi ibn Makhlad al-Qurtubi rahimahullah. Mujassima, anthropomorphists. Yes, that's it. I didn't know how to pronounce the word, so I just said it in Arabic. Anthropomorphist, or whatever you call it. Okay, another question, Shaykh. Another question, Shaykh, when the scholars say that hadith is my madhab, others say that is it's restricted to their students, and this, jazakallahu khairan, and not to the average people. Could you share your opinion on? Yes, of course, a beginner student can't say hadith madhabi because he doesn't know how to derive it. He didn't study usul fiqh. He doesn't know how to understand it. Maybe he doesn't even know Arabic properly. So no one can say, anybody just goes and just reads a book and says, oh, this is my opinion. There's a lot of work to understand fiqh. You have to study until you become knowledgeable and you know. And then you can say, I follow this opinion or this other opinion. But when you are still beginner, when you're still a beginner, no, you follow your scholars, you follow your teachers, you follow what you studied. And then later on, when you become capable, you learn, you study, you can have your own opinion. From John Terry, why the Maliki ideas were not translated to transmitted to Southeast Asia. The Asians, most of the Asians used to come to Iraq and take from the scholars of Iraq, so they don't need to go to take from Medina. Whereas the Moroccans or the Westerns used to go and stop in Medina. That's it. They don't go to Iraq. They don't go anywhere. Why should they go there? They just reach to Medina. They make their pilgrim and stuff like that, and they take knowledge from Medina and go back home. So they didn't need to go there. Whereas the Asians, no. They go to Iraq. They go to Medina and they go back to Iraq. Iraq was full of scholars, from all types of scholars. So that's why most of the Asians were Hanafis or Shafi'is. Some of them were Hanbalis as well. Final question. Why is Ibn Rushd recognized as a figure within the madhab, despite his unorthodox philosophical view? No, Ibn Rushd, we have two Ibn Rushd. We have the grandfather and the grandson. The grandfather is one of the pillars of the madhab, the Maliki school, because of his great work that he did. And he is one of the scholars, when we say this is mashhur al-madhab, it's one of the opinions that he says, I think connected by the opinions of al-Lakhmi or others. I think so. Where actually, Khalil in his book, he took from Ibn Rushd and Abu al-Hasan al-Lakhmi and al-Burzulli, Ibn Rushd, al-Lakhmi, al-Burzulli, and others, and maybe Ibn Arafah or whatever. I think so. No, not Ibn Arafah, no. Well, I don't know exactly whom. Anyway, these three scholars, and he compiled and took the main opinions of them and squeezed it in his book. So Ibn Rushd is one of the pillars of the madhab. But his grandson is not like that at all, because he's considered as a philosopher. Yes, he has his Bidayat al-Mujtahid, Yeah, people benefit from it, but it's not considered as one of the main books of the madhab, and he is not considered as one of the great scholars of the madhab because he's known as a philosopher more than being known as a faqih. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala alam. Thank you very much for being patient with me, and see you later inshallah in a new lecture. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.